As a military member, you have access to some incredible wealth building tools that civilians can only dream of. But here's the crazy thing. Only 6% of military members have used one of these powerful wealth building tools available to them. I'm talking about real estate investing using your VA loan benefits. My team and I have helped military members acquire over $1 billion worth of real estate. And today, I'm gonna show you exactly how elite military investors think differently. I'm breaking down the mindset and strategies that separate the top 1% of military investors from everyone else. I'll share how I went from a broke E1 making $1,200 a month, being a multi-millionaire and a seven-figure real estate investor just a couple years later. By the end of this video, you'll understand why most military members stay stuck while the top 1% build generational wealth that lasts for decades. So let's dive in. The thing that separates top military investors from everyone else is their mindset. This might sound basic, but I'm telling you, it's everything. Your mindset determines what actions you take, and your actions determines your results. Let's break down the key mindset shifts that make all the difference. Mindset shift number 1. They don't think like employees. They think like investors. The average military mindset is, I need to save money from my paycheck. But the top 1% says, how can I make my military benefits work for me instead of just collecting a paycheck? See the difference? One is passive, one is active. Mindset shift number 2. They focus on wealth creation, not just income. The average mindset says, I should work harder and get a promotion. But the top 1% asks, how can I obtain assets so that my money works extra hard for me? Your military income is important, but your wealth building strategy is what will set you free. Mindset shift number 3. They embrace strategic risk, not reckless risk. The average military mindset thinks, I should invest safely in my TSP and wait until retirement. Don't get me wrong. Investing in your TSP is great, but that shouldn't be your only plan. The top 1% mindset says, I should use calculated leverage to accelerate my wealth timeline. Notice I said calculated risk, not gambling, not speculation, but strategic, educated risk taking. Mindset shift number 4. They think in systems, not transactions. The average military mindset says, I need to buy a house to live in. The top 1% mindset says, I need to build wealth systematically by leveraging my military benefits. One is thinking about just a basic shelter. The other is thinking about creating a machine that generates wealth in perpetuity. I see this mindset shift all the time in our Simple Wealth Academy community. It's incredible to watch military members transform their thinking and start building real systems for wealth creation instead of just making single transactions. That's why we created a supportive environment specifically designed to help service members achieve generational wealth through real estate with little to no money down. Members learn alongside other military members who understand their unique challenges and opportunities. We also help you invest in real estate A to Z, finding you properties, funding the loan, to helping you put management in place. All done with you and for you. If you're interested in making this mindset shift yourself, there's more information in the description below. Now let's dive into exactly how the top 1% leverage their military benefits strategically. Now I'm gonna show you how the top 1% leverage their military benefits strategically. These are ways most service members don't even consider. Number 1 is maximizing the VA loan like a chess player, not checkers. The average approach is to use the VA loan for a primary residence use only, like a single family home where you live. But the top 1% approach is that they strategically use the VA loan benefit for multi-family properties and future refinancing opportunities. Here's something a lot of people don't know. You can actually buy up to 4 units with your VA loan. And many don't know that 2 veterans can jointly purchase up to 7 units using their combined VA loan entitlement. I found this in the VA Lending Handbook, which is the 26-7 Chapter 7. Most loan officers don't even know this exists. Even though this is not very common to execute, it's still a pretty cool fact. But nonetheless, you can still combine your VA loans with another service member that is not your spouse, which will effectively get you double the qualification and purchase power. And it's gonna be that much easier to get a 2 to 4 unit property using your VA loan. Like I said, the top 1% strategy is to look for properties with 3 to 4 units and live in one and rent out the others. This is exactly how I started. I bought a duplex using my VA loan, lived in the master bedroom, and rented out the other rooms. Strategic advantage number 2, leveraging BAH as an investment multiplier. The average approach to use BAH is to pay rent or a mortgage on a single family home. The top 1% approach is to use BAH to cover the mortgage on a multifamily property and pocket the difference as profit. Think about it. BAH is literally the government paying you to own real estate. Why not maximize this benefit? The top 1% strategy is, instead of renting or buying a single family home, purchase a multi-unit property where your BAH covers the entire mortgage and rental income from other units becomes pure profit. My first property was generating $1,900 in cash flow every single month while I lived there for free. That's almost $23,000 a year in pure passive income while I was still on active duty. Strategic advantage number 3, using military networks for deal flow. The average approach is to search on Zillow and work with your real estate agent. The top 1% approach is to leverage military-specific resources and networks for deals. 1% strategy is to use platforms like AHRN, which is a military housing website, to find tenants. This is one of my secret weapons for finding reliable tenants fast. The 1% also networks with other military investors to find off-market deals and joint venture opportunities. Your military network is one of your biggest assets. Use it. Strategic advantage number 4, leveraging PCS moves as portfolio builders. The average approach is to sell your home when receiving PCS orders. The top 1% approach is to keep the property as a rental and use your VA loan again at your new duty station. Unlike civilians who need to sell their home when relocating, your military career actually creates an opportunity through PCS moves. The top 1% strategy is to build a nationwide portfolio by keeping properties at each duty station, creating what I call a breadcrumb trail of wealth across the country. I've seen military members acquire 3 to 4 properties over their career just through normal PCS moves. By the time they retire, they have a cash flowing portfolio that supports their lifestyle, and I wouldn't be surprised if they got out as a millionaire or even a multi-millionaire. Now let's talk about how the top 1% structure their deals to maximize returns and minimize risk. Number 1, the super house hack. The average approach is to live in the property and maybe rent out a room. Top 1% approach is to implement what I call the super house hack strategy, which is renting by the room and maximizing every square foot of the property. Let me give you a real example from my own portfolio. In May of 2020, I bought 2 single family homes on one lot for $800,000 for 0% down using my VA loan. I spent $30,000 rehabbing both houses and did an ADU play by building a 3rd unit. And instead of just renting out the units, I rented out individual rooms. This strategically increased my cash flow that would have been maybe $500 a month to $2,000 per month on top of my W-2 income and living for free. That's the difference between making a few $100s a month and making enough to potentially have some more time freedom or fund your next deal much faster. Strategy number 2, the cash out refinance acceleration method. The average approach is to pay down the mortgage and slowly build equity over 30 years. The top 1% approach is to force appreciation through strategic improvements, then cash out refinance to fund more investments without selling the property. Here's a real example. I bought that property that I mentioned for $800,000 and put that $30,000 into the rehab. And then 6 months later, it appraised for $920,000 and I pulled out $96,000 tax-free through a cash out refinance to fund my next investment and still keep the original property, as it still appreciates in value and provides me cash flow every single month. The 1% are always thinking about how to recycle their capital to acquire more assets, not just paying down one mortgage for decades. Strategy number 3, the ADU wealth multiplier. The average approach is to keep property as is when you purchase it. The top 1% approach is to add accessory dwelling units so you can dramatically increase property value and cash flow. With that $96,000 check, I spent $72,000 building an ADU on my first property, and it generated $323,000 in equity. That's a 448% return on investment. This ADU now rents for $1,900 per month, adding substantial cash flow to the property. Fast forward, that ADU now generates $2,400 per month, adding substantial cash flow to the property. The 1% are constantly looking for ways to increase the value of their properties beyond what the market naturally provides. They're not waiting for appreciation. they're forcing it. Strategy number 4, the co-living cash flow maximizer. The average approach is to rent out a property as a single family home or individual units. The top 1% approach is to implement a co-living model to multiply rental income. Co-living works because 14 million renters make less than $35,000 a year, and 1 out of 4 millennials live with roommates. There's a massive demand for affordable housing options. By furnishing the property and renting by the room, I increased my cash flow by 600% compared to traditional renting. My property went from potentially generating $5,600 a month in traditional rental income to over $15,000 per month with the co-living model. That's the power of understanding the market and securing your deals for maximum cash flow. Now let me show you how the top 1% scale their portfolios beyond what most military members think is possible. Strategy number 1, other people's money. The average approach is save up for the down payment from your military salary, which can take years. The top 1% approach is to leverage other people's money after proving your concept. After my first successful deal, it gave me the confidence to keep using other people's money, aka good debt, not bad debt, to fund my next ventures. When you have a system that works, money is attracted to it. The 1% understands that money is attracted to proven systems and results. They don't wait until they have all the cash themselves. Strategy number 2, the DSCR loan method. The average approach is to rely solely on VA loans and conventional financing. The top 1% approach is to utilize a DSCR loan, the debt service coverage ratio loan, to scale beyond the VA loan limits. DSCR loans don't require personal income verification or tax returns, making them ideal for scaling a portfolio. The loan is based on the property's income, not personal income. The 1% don't let financing stop their scaling. They find the right loan products for each stage of growth. They become experts in creative financing. Strategy number 3, strategic partnerships. The average approach is to invest solo, limiting yourself to what you can do alone. The top 1% approach is to form strategic partnerships to access bigger deals that would be impossible alone. I'm currently developing a 49-unit apartment building worth $23 million, something that wouldn't be possible without the right partnerships. The 1% know when to partner up to access deals beyond their individual capacity. They're not trying to do everything themselves. Let me share a real example of someone who's implemented these strategies. This is a case study from one of our clients, Ricardo. Ricardo is 20 years old and active duty military. After learning these strategies, he bought a property in Texas, used the co-living method we just talked about, and now he's generating $1,500 per month in cash flow while living for free. That's $18,000 a year in cash flow after all expenses at 20 years old. And guess what? He's gonna do it again and again and again. Plus, he's working on an ADU play that could potentially add another $50,000 in equity to his property. Ricardo didn't wait until he had 20% down or until he had decades of experience. He took action with the resources he had available, leveraged his military benefits strategically, and is now building wealth years ahead of his peers. The key lesson here is that you don't need to wait. With the right strategy, you can start building wealth now, regardless your rank or time in service. The difference between the average military investor and the top 1% isn't luck or having more money to start with. It's about leveraging military benefits strategically, structuring deals to maximize returns, and scaling using other people's money. I went from struggling E5 to financially free through real estate. And many of the people I have worked with have seen similar transformations. If you want to learn about implementing these strategies, I created the Simple Wealth Academy specifically for military members like you. We help you implement everything I talked about in this video with step-by-step guidance and support. We've helped hundreds of military members acquire properties and build wealth through real estate. Click the link in the description to learn more about how we can help you implement these strategies in your own life. Remember, it's not about working harder. It's about working smarter by leveraging the unique advantages you have as a military member. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.